Good evening.
You're not.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our township website. Please all stand to salute the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Prupus? Deputy Mayor Thaw-Eglow?
Here.
Mr. Vinayak?
Here.
Mr. Wasserman?
Here.
Mayor Miggins?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I request the Township Committee consider revising the agenda this evening to move up the public comment period to earlier in the agenda and prior to consideration of our consent agenda resolutions. We're in the process of reviewing our rules of order. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as revised to move up public comment period?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the February 2nd, 2022 regular Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. May I have a motion to approve the February 2nd, 2022 special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you. Okay, this evening we have a proclamation, and Diane Thaw-Eglow, our Deputy Mayor, will introduce our Chair, Elaine Becker, the proclamation.
Oh, okay, so I'll introduce you first and I'll do the proclamation.
Yes. Elaine, can you use a microphone? Do you mind? Thank you.
Speak to the Township Committee. Yes, I just wanted to say that I'm the chairman of the Community Service Award Committee. We have a small committee in which we search for volunteers who really do a lot of work for the community. With none of our group is.
Yeah.
Is it that bad?
Well, you know what, Elaine, sometimes people have a hard time hearing at home, and I think this is important.
So our Community Service Committee searches for volunteers who have benefited the community and really increased our quality of life in the community. It's amazing how many people we have found who have done such wonderful work. And these are groups or individuals, and none of them does any work for a salary or for to get money. They just do what is good for the township, and they do it in a very quiet way. And it's amazing how many people we've been able to find and groups that we have wanted to honor. And I think we're up to 88 groups or individuals now. And this is for 30 years, since 1991. So we do 3 or 4 a year, and it has worked out beautifully. And tonight we are very pleased to have a representative. Do you have a title now, Tony? I'm not sure.
Deputy Commander.
Sounds good. Deputy Commander of the American Legion. And so I turn it over to our liaison, Diane Eglow. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Anthony, would you join me at the podium? Very excited to do this because I've known you since high school, so this is extra special.
Oh.
Okay, so whereas the American Legion is the largest and most respected veterans organization in our country, and whereas American Legion Post number 140 in Millburn was formed in 1921 as a gathering place for veterans, and whereas American Legion veterans in Millburn are involved and visible in the township, marching in the Memorial Day Parade, putting American flags on and attending to veterans' graves at St. Stephen's and St. Rose of Lima cemeteries, and providing Boy Scouts and high school information about the American Legion's Boy State program, And whereas the American Legion veterans in Millburn support local veterans, for example, providing assistance to veterans in need of shelter, performing small repair work in their homes, helping veterans to get services available at Lyons VA Medical Center, and directing veterans to programs they are entitled to, such as for effects of the Iraq War. And whereas members of the American Legion in Millburn make volunteer visits, except during the pandemic, to veterans at the Lyons facility. Now, therefore, I, Maggie Miggins, Mayor of the Township of Millburn, on behalf of the Township Committee and members of the Millburn Township community, on this 19th day of April 2022, honor American Legion Post number 140 for their service to our country and our community, and all veterans who have resided in the Township of Millburn. And through the research, Elaine found out that there are almost 90 veterans in town, and a lot of people maybe aren't aware of the American Legion on Main Street, which has a lot of things they offer, including a beer license. You hold parties there, right? Which people probably aren't even aware of, that you can rent that party space. So that's kind of good. So I'm going to say, Anthony, just say a couple of words, please.
Well, thank you for this award. And I'm sure the men and women of the Legion, deceased and alive, will appreciate that we're being recognized finally. I appreciate this award, and I pass it on to the guys and gals.
And we did talk about trying to find a place in town for a veterans plaque, maybe in the park, something that we will keep that on our radar, because I think that's really important. And yes, oh, you're welcome.
And one last thing, Anthony, is it true now that any vet can join the American Legion?
It was changed about 2018.
So in 2018, what happened?
Well, it used to be you'd have to be a Legion member. You'd have to be a member during a conflict.
Okay,
And then they realized that there already is a VFW, so it was passed in Congress that they made it anybody that was served.
anyone who served can join
In
our
any
VFW.
branches.
That's great. That's awesome news. So that's good that we should get that out there to everyone, that if you do know of anyone that has served and they are vets, that we have the VFW for them and they're welcome to join it. I think that's
Right,
true.
we give a lot of information out about healthcare,
Awesome.
places to live that are guys that are homeless, got guys and gals that are homeless. So it's a good source of information for veterans.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it
Thank you.
active.
Post number 140, established in Millburn in 1941. Okay, so thank you.
So I would just like to make one other point, because for the last 3 iterations of the Memorial Day Parade, the American Legion, despite lower numbers and despite their, maybe limited resources, have been a proud sponsor and co-sponsor of that parade, which is a great community event, which is something that I think is important, to Millburn and to the people of Millburn. And so I just want to recognize them for that too, and say, certainly please come out to the Memorial Day Parade on May 30th. Support not only the township, but also the American Legion and what they do for this community.
And that's Monday, May 30th at 11 o'clock, starting at Millburn High School.
Correct.
Anybody who's got a group that wants to march in it, we have the Millburn marching, non-marching band comes over. And any civic group is welcome to march.
Amen. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do have a very special announcement to make. We have a birthday in the house. Somebody I know has got a really special 29th birthday tonight, Mayor Becker. And I think it's important that we recognize that. And I am going to sing happy birthday. I hope you'll all join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Elaine. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks, Mayor Megan.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Thank you. 29.
I'm on the dark side of 85.
Well, you look terrific, and we were so pleased that you could come this evening on your birthday and make that wonderful presentation and all the hard work you do and all the volunteering you do for our town. We are blessed, and we're very, very grateful to you, Elaine Becker. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. Okay. We're going to reports. Any reports for us, Deputy Mayor?
So on April 7th, Maggie, Mayor, and I, Mayor Maggie, had the honor of going to St. Rose to welcome another new Eagle Scout to Troop 19, another young woman to represent as an Eagle Scout. We had the 9 Main Street Subcommittee meeting. I think everyone should have seen or will be seeing the survey that's going out, that we want residents to really respond to that, because it's really important how this building is going to look. On April 14th, we had the Taylor Park Subcommittee. MKW is going to print 3 iterations. And Jesse, do we have a date for that? I wasn't sure. I couldn't find that. When the next MKW? Oh, we don't have a date yet. Okay. Oh, and another happy occasion, Jess Almeida, the assistant clerk, had a bridal shower here attended by almost everyone in town hall. So those are the things you don't get to see, the non-political things that town hall does for their employees. That was really nice.
It was lovely.
Yeah, so I think she's married now, right?
Nope, Friday.
Friday.
Friday,
Earth
getting
Day.
married, yeah, so congratulations, Jess. Okay, and yeah, I think that's it, right? That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Vinayak, do you have any reports for us this evening?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you.
I was part of at least the 2 other group that I want to bring the reports for. One was a rec committee meeting where we have a new director. Our previous director, Bob Hogan, retired. Our new rec director is Mr. Chris Myers. Congratulations to him on becoming the rec director. So we had that meeting the first Wednesday or after our regular TC meeting last time. It was a great meeting and congratulations to Chris. Second, flood mitigation meeting. Our town is prone to flooding, and I'm sure Mr. Wasserman will talk about this too, but in everywhere we go, let's just make sure we are making sure we are prepping those people. So we have another public session tomorrow at 8:30. 3 or at least 2 major projects that we are working on is a drainage program or drainage project towards the South Mountain in different areas. I think 2 or 3 different areas. Then home elevation program that we are really focusing on and applying for. And the third one, which is a little bit at the beginning of it, but the Glen Avenue, our engineer has looked into, and this is a new development. We assume, or we are hoping, and he has brought that up to our attention, if there is any border holding on the Glen Avenue, that can actually stop bringing the water in or delay that response to bring the water into the downtown and going to the South Mountain. So it's a great development. We are looking into this further, and our engineer is also looking into. So we'll know how it come about. And the last one and the most important thing is we will be having a public session for hurricane preparedness with the public. I think Mr. McDonald can give the date for that as well. So it's important to just keep repeating that over and over again so everyone can attend and be prepared for any kind of storm or hurricane event.
Yeah, so that date is May 11th. It'll be at 7 p.m. We will do that as a hybrid meeting so people can come in as well. But we'll include our OEM team, our Office of Emergency Management team, which includes Chief Robert Echeverria, Captain Chris Beatty from the fire department, Captain Ed Blazinski from the police department, and Jesse and myself will be there, as well as others. But we'll be talking to preparedness for storms and what we do, as well as what residents can do to help themselves too.
And Flood Mitigation Committee is a very active and very committed committee. I'm sure every other committee is as well, but their volunteers I really appreciate what they do and the way they do it, the energy they have. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. Thank you. Thanks to that committee as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Wasserman?
Well, thank you, Mayor. So just to add a couple comments to Mr. Benayek's comments. So just to talk about Glen Avenue, our engineer, John Rushke, we're doing something called 2D modeling. And some of the new modeling has been really interesting. So we're looking into, if you put up, as Mr. Benayek said, if you put up a flood wall on Glen Avenue, and this is just very preliminary, how that would affect a major storm coming in, and there's some interesting new information that came forward that we're looking into that may be a huge benefit to the town, in the future. In addition to that, we want to put out a reminder to our residents and businesses, and it's really important. A year ago we had Hurricane Ida. This could happen again. There's a lot of preliminary reports that this coming hurricane season, this summer, it could be very active. So we want to make sure our residents or businesses are prepared, that they have appropriate insurance, that that people think about this, before it arrives. And I don't have to remind everybody how devastating it was. But it's really important that we keep talking about this. And our flood mitigation committee has been really helpful and really working on this. In addition, I also wanted to touch on, we looked carefully at the Futter building. This is not something I just wanted to advise the public about. With our new 2D modeling, we had new information that came forward about the Futter building, and there was a point in time where we actually thought that if the town purchased the property, it would be a benefit to the town. There would be a public use, and it would be beneficial because it may actually help in flood mitigation. But with the new 2D model done, we actually discovered that it wouldn't be a benefit, that there would actually be more water on Millburn Avenue. So, but I just wanted to tell everybody that's something we looked at, and we've been in touch with Mr. Futter, and that's something that we looked at, and we're not going to pursue that building currently. So that's something I wanted to advise everybody. Also, on April 30th, we are going to have such an amazing day for Founding Day. I just want to tell all of our neighbors that don't make plans for Founding Day. Please come to Founding Day. We have an amazing program for the kids. We have historical activities. We have a cleanup, and we have artwork. We have some amazing new artwork that's going to be hung, and there's a lot of fun in store for everybody. So please, April 30th, I think we're starting around 11 a.m. and we're going to run into the late afternoon. Also, if you want to volunteer for this, if anybody in this room wants to give back to the town, Founding Day is your ticket. So please, if you're interested in helping us on Founding Day, we're looking for a lot of volunteers. Please contact me or, sorry, Alex, or Mr. McDonald, and we'll get you signed up. We have a lot of work to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And those are my reports.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carney, do you have any reports for us today?
Mayor, no report this evening.
Okay. Mr. McDonald, do you have any reports for us this evening?
Yes, I'm just going to repeat that on May 30th, we were having a Memorial Day parade at 11 a.m. starting at the Millburn High School. So I hope everybody can come out and join us, or if there are any groups that wish to march, certainly, please reach out and we'll be happy to get you the information. The other update that I wanted to provide was with the Short Hills Avenue Bridge.
I know this is sort of, seems like the never-ending project. Union County is working hard to get this completed. However, PSC&G has to run a pipe and is short on materials, so it's delaying this project even further. Once it's installed, Union County only has to pour the sidewalk and pave. The new estimate is a month, so we're looking at mid-May. We are also, just a reminder to everybody that Marion Avenue will be closed for bridge work. That was supposed to be closed on Monday, April 18th. However, that's been delayed by 2 weeks. However, we've got some good news, I guess, if all goes well, that it'll only be closed for 2 months instead of the projected 4 months. But
So
we'll wait on that.
all of Marion Avenue, which is by the middle school, which is the cut through from
Yes.
Parsonage to Glen, is getting closed down for,
Yeah,
or Old Church Hills
Hills, yeah.
for 2 months.
2 months, correct. However, I mean, obviously there will be local access. However, the part of the road that's going to be closed is closest to Glen Avenue. But yes, that road will be closed.
Can we make sure we put that up on our website as well?
Yes.
Or even on the road saying this would be close.
Well, they should be putting, Essex County, who's responsible for that project, should be putting up the
There
signage
is
that
one
will.
screen sign at the bottom of Glen Avenue that I saw, but I wonder if we can't take one of our, you know how we flash the flashing things, if we could put that up so
Sure.
people know that's happening.
Thought I saw an orange sign already up, no?
A green at the
Green?
bottom of Glen.
Yeah,
the
there's a
green.
sign, yeah.
Okay.
And of
We
course,
just
the
want to keep reminding
schools,
everyone.
the schools have been notified as well.
Okay.
The last thing is the library renovation project is nearing its completion. Just for the benefit of the public, the library will be fully closed, both the satellite site as well as the renovated site on Glen Avenue will be closed from Thursday, April 28th through Tuesday, May 3rd. They are planning on a soft opening on May 4th. So that's exciting news. At some point, they'll have an official ribbon cutting and ceremony for the renovations to the children's library and other things. But certainly great news for the library that they're nearing completion of that project.
Great, thank you. Mr. McDonald, also in terms of, at the present time, there are 4 or 5 roads that are being milled and paved in the South Mountain area. That's correct, yes?
Yes, PSC&G has come back around. As you recall, they had some major work being done in both the Wyoming section as well as the South Mountain section last year. They've come back now as the weather is broken to mill and pave streets in their restoration process.
And how do we notify the residents that that's happening?
Well, so we notified the residents last week about that work that would be done via Swift 911. So an email gets sent out that indicates to everybody in the South Mountain area that these roads are going to be milled starting April 18th. Again, it's hard for us to project exactly which roads they're going to hit when. PSC&G is dealing with a third-party contractor in Tilcon, and certainly they're going to different spots depending on what the setting on the machine is or whatever. But that was communicated to the public via Swift 911.
So if you're not signed up for Swift 911, you're not going to know about it. Is
You
that
may
correct?
not, but also the contractor was responsible as well for notifying residents on the streets that work would be done. And so PSC&G had indicated to us that they had done that as well. And again, the police department last week also alerted the schools, the buses, to make sure that was all coordinated.
So the schools know as well. Okay,
Correct.
that's good.
I have a question, extension to that same one. Can we get an ETA or estimated timeline on what all roads they're trying to get to? Because they worked on Highland Avenue last year and it's still broken. It's not fixed yet. So maybe I'm sure they will come back, mill and pave that Highland Avenue as well. It is from Hartshorn all the way in the middle of where the Short Hills
Short Hills
Club
Club?
is, yes. So I
Menacing.
think it is from PSC&G as well. So it'll be good to see their timeline on what all roads they are trying to attack on mill and pave.
So Highland, as I recall, first and foremost, it's been patched and repaired by the Department of Public Works. However, the lower section of Highland and Short Hills Avenue was water company work. I am not aware that they were that far up on Highland Avenue. We can have DPW reach out to them and find out whether that is their restoration project, because keep in mind with the utility companies that if it's just a patch, they're not going to do a
It's
curb
not
to
even a
curb or
patch.
curb to
I think
side.
it's probably a
That's-
mile of road. That is all
That's
broken.
further down. That's water company work. So
Yeah.
we'll have a conversation with them.
Okay, thank you.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, we note that it's spring and we know that the potholes are starting to show themselves. And so if there's any streets that you think in particular that need fixing, please go on our website and go onto the SDL portal and put in the address. And our DPW is hard at work filling those potholes, but it's a struggle and it's an every year struggle. Also on Friday at the DPW on Main Street, they'll be giving out seedlings at 9 a.m., but I hear they go really, really quickly. So if you want some seedlings, trees, get there by 9. I'm told they're gone within 15 minutes. So just so you're all aware of that. And then lastly, the survey is up for the 9 Main Street development. There's a survey that's been put up that we're asking people to fill out to see the different aesthetics they'd like to see at that building. So that is up online. It's on our website, Alex, right? Mr.
Correct.
McDonald?
Yep.
Okay, terrific.
I think it was also put on social media as well.
On social media as well. Okay, terrific. And we really do encourage everyone to sign up for SWIFT 911, please. If you're listening, please make sure you sign up because then you get all the notices of what's going on in town. Thank you. Okay, that's it for reports. Mr. Molman, any reports? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, public comment. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, and speak loudly so that your comments may be understood by all and properly recorded. For the convenience of our community, there is a remote option available. If you called in and would like to comment, please press *6 now. If you're attending by computer or electronic device, please click the raise hand button. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put into the queue to address the committee. Whenever an audience or committee member reads verbatim from a prepared statement, please email a copy to the township's clerk's office at townclerk@millburntwp.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there's 30 seconds remaining. Each individual will be given 1 opportunity to make their public comment. Please be patient and we will address each member of the public that wishes to speak. This is a business meeting, and please do not address professionals or staff directly, and please do direct all comments to me. A reminder that we are all neighbors and personal attacks will not be tolerated. I will now open the public comment period.
Hi, my name is Bill Brazel. Excuse me. I live at 29 Parkview Drive here in town. As many of you know, Essex County's Earth Day celebration is this coming Saturday in Roseland. Joseph DiVincenzo said Earth Day gives us a special time to appreciate our world and reminds us of the importance of keeping our air and water clean. A number of Millburn residents are concerned about a particular device that pollutes our air nearly every day here in town, and that is the gas-powered leaf blower. As the engineering editor at Edmunds.com, Jason Kavanaugh, explained, the hydrocarbon emissions from a half hour of yard work with a 2-stroke leaf blower, which is the kind I'm talking about, are roughly equal to a 3,900-mile drive from Texas to Alaska in a Ford F-150 pickup truck, the Raptor. This is one of the most polluting devices that exists on the planet today. The noise and the air pollution, of course, do the most immediate damage to the actual workers who have to use this device and are very rarely protected from it. So I came here today to ask Mayor Miggins, as the liaison to the Environmental Commission, where they may be on this issue and what those of us who care about it may do in order to move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tammy Huang, and I have lived at 11 Western Drive for the last 15 years. I've raised 3 children here, actually 2. My third is a junior in high school right now. My mother and my sister are in town also. And I am working with Bill to bring the power thing, the gas powered leaf blowers to everybody's attention. And I came to this very slowly myself. I'm a physician at Sloan Kettering. I'm not home that much, so I really didn't think or wasn't aware of it. But when I became aware of it, I couldn't get it out of my head. Every time a leaf blower went up, you cannot close your windows because the frequency of the blower is unique in that it's low frequency and travels long distances and penetrates windows and doors. I found myself thinking when these leaf blowers went on, I wish I were at work. And I wonder why anyone isn't doing anything about it. So that's why tonight I have subsequently done a lot of reading and research and found out, in addition to the noise pollution, there's incredible environmental pollution. And these things are not, it's not debatable. It's very well researched. These are facts. Luckily, there's a very good alternative, electric leaf blowers. Therefore, we have it available. They're completely viable. They are, I grant, more expensive. But when you take the cost of more than just dollars in terms of our environment and our personal health, and our children's health, it's actually much cheaper than the gas powered leaf blowers. In fact, I really do believe also that this is not a matter of if, but when these two-stroke engines, gas powered leaf blowers, are very antiquated machines. And it's only a matter of when we're going to switch over. I think within the next 2 years, 10 years, and I feel like Millburn, especially with Hurricane Ida that put us on the front page of newspapers, we really should be at the forefront of this. I know it's being considered in the New Jersey legislation, the state. I don't think we need to wait for them. I think we should move forward and support that legislation by our own actions. So I'm here just wondering what we need to do, as a community to mobilize to help you make a decision to move forward on the gas powered leaf blowers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Morales.
Not a problem. Jay Morielli, #1 Claremont Drive. I'd like to start tonight by reading a few headlines, recent headlines from newspaper and online journals. First one is from Mercer County, published December 8th, 2021. Authorities acting on a tip found a Lawrence High School student with a loaded firearm inside the school Wednesday morning, prompting a lockdown in search of the building on Princeton Pike. This is from Clark, New Jersey, March 7th of this year. After a student brought a gun to Arthur L. Johnson High School on Friday, police say the school is safe and classes will resume as normal. This is from April 6th, a couple of weeks ago, this time in Salem. A high school student accused of bringing a loaded gun to school will be placed in home detention pending a trial after he was charged with multiple firearms offenses last week. The 18-year-old Salem High School student was arrested after his 7-year-old brother, who attends John Fenwick Academy in Salem, in the Salem district, came to school with a handgun in his bag. And this one from Maplewood. 16-year-old boy fatally shoots himself inside home in Maplewood. And this is March 30th of this year. With the advent of the pandemic and social and political unrest, gun sales have increased dramatically since 2019 nationally. Millburn is no exception. Between 2016 and 2019, there were an average of 150 gun purchase permits issued by the Millburn Police Department each year. In 2020 and 2021, that number doubled to 300. Many of those purchases were undoubtedly first-time buyers, and New Jersey does not require safety training prior to the purchase of firearms. The link between increased firearm purchases, first-time gun owners, and increase in incidents of students gaining access to guns is obvious. Research has shown that in incidents of gunfire on school grounds, 80% of the shooters under the age of 18 got the gun from their home, the homes of friends, or the homes of relatives. Groups on both sides of the gun debate agree on one thing, and that is guns should be stored securely and not accessible to minors. From the NRA website, store guns so they are not accessible to unauthorized persons. Many factors must be considered when deciding where and how to store guns. A person's particular situation will be a major part of the consideration. Dozens of gun storage devices, as well as locking devices that attach directly to the gun, are available. From Everytown for Gun Safety, gun owners can make their homes and communities safer by storing their guns securely. This means storing them locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition. Securing firearms protects children and adults, preventing unintentional shooting and gun suicides. We ask that the Township Committee help keep our children and our schools safe by spreading the message of the importance of safe gun storage. If we can alert residents of ways to prevent car theft, then surely we can alert them to the need to keep firearms stored securely and inaccessible to minors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morelli.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, 11 Alexander Lane, Short Hills, New Jersey. Again, I want to applaud all our veterans who defended our liberties and freedoms. It's sort of like a cosmic irony because today, so I think it's your birthday, it's also the 247th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord, where our country went to defend various rights and liberties that many of us take for granted. I'd like to give a shout out for the presentation that was last night on the budget. Please post it if you haven't yet, that the public can see, because there's a lot of information given at there and explanations about capital budgets and how the process works. As to the Founders Day, I have tried to volunteer to have a candidates table, where I've had voter registration and letting people look at the registered voters rolls to find out who maybe doesn't live on their block, so we can screen that. And I've been rejected as to my proposal to do that. And it seems ironic because I believe that event's being paid for by this municipality, and I'm trying to give a public service. As to the fair share housing, there is a public forum next Tuesday night. I think everyone should be reminded of that. There are some ordinances that are on for first reading tonight. And I think the public should be explained the templates that was used to make the comparison and what comparison you looked at other municipalities as to the numbers. Also, I think we're still having this issue as to an explanation of the RDP number, what happened in April 2018, when it was 17 and went up to 114 as of July 30th, 2021. In the proposed ordinance tonight for first reading, there's reference to a fair share plan. In April 2018, the fair share plan was approved by the Township Committee and the Planning Board. I think it's time for the public to see what the amendments are, because it needs to see it sooner rather than later. As to Oprah, I think we need to clarify the people's rights to Oprah. Since the last meeting, I made Oprah requests. I have not received documents. At the last meeting, we were told that someone resigned from the Planning Board. No one in this town, this building, can find a letter of resignation. We've heard about Mr. Jesse Mullen's report that was created in 2019. No one can find it. I requested time summaries. Under Oprah, that was supposed to be immediately produced to me. They have not been. I think we have to look at that. Finally, as to newspapers articles, there's a big article about Belleville that was in the Sunday Star Ledger, where they voided all the appointments made by the mayor to the planning board. At the last meeting, the mayor made appointments to the planning board. There's questions when I started looking at our various appointments, how it's done. Some are with advice and consent of the local governing body, some are not. I think it's time to be consistency. I'll be very short that we should be looking to what's going on in Homedale and Red Bank. That people are considering and updating, modernizing their form of government. We are being governed by a statute from the 1880s. It's time to give guidance so we have consistency, that we know as to every board or every commission what is the process? Our mayor is not elected by the people. He's selected by the group that's up ahead of us. And the question is whether we should have the same protections of advice and consent of the whole local governing bodies as to those appointments. That's something that I'm not saying, I would just like to have a civil discussion within the community. And that's what various other people are. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Jean Pasternak, 342 Hobart Ave. I'm just circling back to Diane Eglo's comment at the end or somewhere in last Township Committee meeting about directing residents to the website to look at I forgot even what report you were referring to, but my point that I tried to raise was the session we had with the consultant on the Taylor Park Gateway was really effective. You got a whole bunch of people from the community together, very different places, different ideas. And I can't believe the amount of goodwill that was built during that, no matter what the outcome is. It got people talking to each other. And I was asking really for you to do the same thing with the entire development effort. It is an urbanization type of effort in this community. And I think people deserve the chance to express their desires and wants for the community that they live in. And I feel that COVID was, I don't know that it was used as a cover, but it sure felt like it, because I feel like we just didn't get a chance to talk to each other and do the same kind of thing we did in this room that night. So I'm asking again that that be considered and be taken on by the Township Committee. As far as the rules of procedure that are under new business, I would again make the plea that there should be 2 sessions so that comments that are made, that they can be responded to by members of the public at the end of the meeting, as well as before official action is taken. I think there were a lot of rights taken away last year, constitutional rights for free speech, and I think we need to make up for that and build the trust back up, and that would be one way to do it. As far as 9 Main Street, it would be really helpful to have the consultant's report on the contamination that was done, the contamination study posted on the website, if that's possible. I can Oprah that. I'm sure I'll be told this doesn't exist or something like that, but I just rather everybody get a chance to look at it. Also, as far as the survey, I think it's great to do surveys. It just seems like they're very cherry picked as to when they're done. This dump project, I think, is a really important question for the community to answer, and I think that was the question that was left out of the survey. I would ask, do you agree with building 100% 75-unit affordable housing site on a potentially contaminated DPW site? And one of the most valuable locations in Millburn, and sell it for $1 to RPM developer who own it and run it. Do you agree? Are you for or against this? Yes or no? I think that's a simple question, and I think all of you should answer that, and we should have a chance to answer that too. As far as the Oprah that Jeff brought up, I have to agree that there's just a lot of roadblocks regarding that. And when people bring it up, unelected person at the last SID meeting, as though it's like some bad thing that people Oprah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you should be encouraging openness and transparency. There should never be anyone in a position of authority here to discourage that. And the other thing on Founders Day, I think it's really important that everybody, if there's a candidate present and has an opportunity, like there seems to be one, to be at that event and be participating very publicly, every candidate should have that option. It shouldn't just be one. And I also want to compliment the budget presentation. I thought it was really good. I learned a lot, and I felt like a lot of questions were answered. So thank you for doing that. And then last thing, the fair share housing. I know Mr. Viniak did reply to me, and I wrote back to him saying that I still don't feel there's clarity. I think those numbers changed, and I know your response, it said something like it was the plan that was submitted in April was a starting point based on the vacant land adjustment calculated in 2018. What was presented to me during the process was consistent with what was included in the final settlement with fair share housing. The RDP changed as a result of additional projects being introduced by developers while negotiations with fair share took place. Example, former Wells Fargo site. I think there's a little bit more going on there. It would just be great if you just tell us what happened.
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks.
Pasternak. Thank you. Anybody online? Mr. Molman. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Perry Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue in Short Hills. As this board is preparing for the upcoming budget, would this body consider consulting with Mr. McDonald regarding Lot 14? And please consider adding this to the pedestrian safety category of the budget. I would plead that permanent speed bumps, pedestrian signs, and stop signs for additional safety precautions. Also, I would request that the mayor ask Mr. Wasserman, where's the oversight at the SID Board of Trustees? We have a past mayor who is an ex officio member who is steering the board and who is not a voting member, correct? Additionally, Ms. Lieberberg, during a staged conversation amongst the board and executive director, is requesting a mechanism from prohibiting and restricting members of the public from Oprah. The $106,000 executive director has told us by way of Oprah that he is the acting records custodian and no longer the secretary, Tracy Levine. The SID board is not required to answer questions, according to their attorney, Mr. Ryan, and information is not provided unless it is Oprah. And it is unconscionable that the executive director is unable to provide information or not keeping proper records. By way of Oprah, we have obtained invitations to his roundtables events, but told no Zoom attendees are available. How is this possible? Also, this body should request the resignation for all board members for paying professionals without contracts. Why isn't Ms. Prupis screaming like she was in 2018? Thank you and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Ms. Urso.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi there. This is Diane Nelson, 48 Hillside Avenue in Short Hills. I'm a former law enforcement officer and a gun violence prevention advocate, and I'd like to comment on safe storage of firearms. I won't repeat the disturbing headlines you just heard during Mr. Moriali's public comments, but I would like to highlight a few statistics. Every year in the United States, around 400 unintentional shootings occur by children having access to a gun. Every year, nearly 700 children under 17 die by suicide with a gun. In the great majority of school shootings, the gun is taken from the home of the student's family or friend. Finally, and most disturbingly, firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens in the United States. I'll say that again because many people don't realize firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens in this country. Does any of this relate to Millburn? Yes, it does. Nearly 300 firearm permits were issued in Millburn Township just last year. My message is that it is always the responsibility of an adult to keep kids safe and to prevent kids from having access to guns. I volunteer with a nonpartisan educational program called Be Smart for Kids. There's more information on that at besmartforkids.org. I'm hoping that the Township Committee, perhaps in coordination with the police department via automated alerts, can encourage Township residents to store firearms locked, unloaded, and separately from ammunition. Thank you for your consideration. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is David Cosgrove. Can you hear me?
Good evening, David. We can hear you.
Yes, thank you. So David Cosgrove, 99 Oakview. I see on the agenda tonight the renewal of the lease with the Arboretum for the Stone House there. And I thought I'd bring up an issue that perhaps you folks might be able to help with. There's a number of gates, entrances to the Arboretum. And there's one right at the end of my street on Oakview Terrace. And it's been locked up for years. And I've made attempts, including very recently, to try to get them to open that door up. and they refuse to do it. There's a number of excuses. One of them is that deer get in there or that people were propping the door open. Frankly, I see deer in the Arboretum all the time. That door's been locked for about 10 years, so I know they're not getting in that door. But perhaps you folks could put some pressure on the Arboretum to try to make the place a little more accessible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's Fran Feld. How are
Good
you
evening.
all?
Good evening, Fran.
So I just want to make one quick comment. I was really glad that you sent the survey. And I have two comments to make about the survey. One is looking at the buildings that we're supposed to comment on what look we like. This is just a personal opinion. There's nothing you can do about this, but I just want to go on record as saying that when you look at all the different buildings in the town compared to some other nicer looking towns, it's a hodgepodge and really nothing to be proud of. And one of the reasons why I feel it's been such an uphill battle to get shops to come in here because, well, frankly, I don't know if it used to look better or I don't know what happened. 40 years ago when I moved here, I felt it was a cute little town, and looking at the survey starkly really is an eye-opener. But anyway, that's number one. Number two, I want to just echo what Jean Pasternak had to say about the lack of transparency. I know this sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, and I did speak to Mayor Miggins about this when we met with Mikey Sherrill at the deli recently. Not that I talked to Mikey Sherrill about it, but to Maggie. I think that this entire process has been one with very little transparency and no part of the process for us residents, we residents. I continue to feel that way, very nice with the survey, but that doesn't say anything about how do we feel about using this site, which now seems to have changed from 11 to 9, I guess. Somebody figured that out, the surveyors, but it could be polluted. I don't know what's going on with that, but even without the pollution, it's still, the whole thing seems very quickly done, I'm just very unsettled about it. And that's my comment for the night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, it's Regina Truitt, 385 Hartshorn Drive. Thanks as always for your service. I wasn't planning to speak, but I was moved by the comments regarding gun safety that several other residents have made tonight. I completely agree with their comments. And never purchased a gun, so wondering when people register, do they receive training from the police? And if not, would it be possible for an ordinance to be written that would require police to administer safety training to residents who do acquire firearms? One thing to possibly suggest would be a gun safety week where our local police are going out to offer residents an opportunity to receive safety training. And lastly, maybe even the Founders Day could offer an opportunity for our police to talk about gun safety to residents. That's it. Thanks again for your service.
Thank you, Regina. Jess? Anyone else? I will now close public comment period. Would any of our professionals or committee members like to address any of the comments that they heard this evening?
Yes.
Ms. Egler?
So, hi, Bill and Tammy. It's nice to see you. I did bring this article from the New York Times, and when this came up to us, it was in the middle of COVID about banning leaf blowers, and I really wasn't on board. I thought, what's the expense? What's the ramifications for the town? But the more I hear about this, I have now also see this is a really important measure. And it's one thing in this article, it talks about how long would it take when Millburn has to, if we start with the town, how long would it take for the DPW to start replacing their gas blowers with electric? Like, is that a place we could start with our own, what we can control?
I think we did that last year.
Yeah.
We did, we
Is it-
did.
So
Did we
are
buy
they
two?
replacing it with electric? I don't know, I'm asking.
Yeah, so the DPW does have electric blowers and they generally use them for smaller jobs. However, they're also cleaning up all the streets with leaves, and so that has not taken shape yet.
Is that something that the town DPW has looked into what the cost of that would be? Because I know it's going to be a cost factor, but if things are going to be replaced, why replace it with a gas blower, even if for the larger jobs? I'm just asking. These are things the article talked about. They also talked about Ida, and it said, you know, the first people who come to the rescue are people with a boat. But didn't the town did we just approve buying a water rescue vehicle?
Yes.
Right, so we are buying things for this town where every property that comes before the planning board, they have to have electric charging stations.
Commercial.
Commercial, but people are, I mean, there's a lot of Teslas in this town. So, and one thing this article was interesting, it said, you know, wow, I'm watching my neighbor plug their Tesla in, yet they're using their gas powered leaf blower. So this was just a really good editorial in the New York Times. It's called It's Saturday, about your leaf blower. And, you know, Millburn was on the forefront of the plastic bag ban. We did that. And that was also a push that took a while to do, but we did that before the state of New Jersey. And we all know in May, New Jersey is starting their plastic bag ban. So we were on the forefront of that. It did take a while for everyone to come on board. And I think this is something that I have come on board with. I've changed my mind. So I think the Environmental Commission, I'm not on that this year, so I don't know if they're talking about it. So I hope they are. I think we all have to evolve. Jay and Diane, thank you for all your hard work on gun control measures. I didn't know about that child being shot, shooting himself in Maplewood. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
And to Jean, I want you to know that I was advocating a public Zoom session for that 911 Main Street at the middle school. 40 people showed up, yet 100 people showed up about the Rose Garden. So there is a disconnect in what people are caring about. And I said, when that building goes up, it's going to be a shocker. And my opinion, no, we should not be having 100% affordable. I said at the last meeting, this country has spent decades and decades fighting segregation, and we are having a segregated by income building. And to Fran, I hope you're still watching, you put it so well at a few meetings ago. Socially, it's just abhorrent, I will use the word, to have a building that is segregated by income versus the Upton or whatever's going up. When you walk into that lobby, you don't know what apartment anyone's going into. There was a plan that showed a bigger project. It sat hidden for a week, and I'm really disappointed about that. We can do better. I don't know if we can go back. I thought we should go back to affordable housing and say, listen, we'll give you your 75 units, but we're also going to add market rate and intermix that, add commercial. Right now, taking that one piece of property and forever, for eternity, making it 75 units of segregated housing by income is horrible to me. So that's my opinion. Let's see. I think that was it. Lots to comment on. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone who shows up and speaks.
Mr. Vinayak?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. For leaf blower changing to electric, I think this came across to us last year, and we wanted to change first as a township for DPW, see what the cost and how would we change, we would make the change before we go out and ask for all those vendors, the lawnmower guys or the leaf blower guys to change it. I thought we did that internally last year. This is heavier leaf blower was a little different, but I think we went ahead and did it, and I will support this movement also for our town now, since we have done it internally. Now, what will it cost us as a town for the major leaf blower, or should we do it in 2 stages? I'm up for discussion on this. I'm actually on a point where I want to favor this, to change it to electric, where we go away from and go with the suggestion. Not right away for the township. Whatever small leaf blowing we did for township, we have already changed that last year.
No, so we just changed two, right? We bought two electric blowers.
So if you think about what we do as a DPW, that doesn't, this is like maintenance of our own grounds, grass clippings, things like that. This is not anything that deals with the scheduled leaf collection. So we've changed those. However, we have not gotten into the larger operation, which is where we use most of our leaf blowers, which is, the 3 months in October, November, December that we're cleaning up the leaves throughout the township.
From the streets.
Correct.
No, I'm not talking about picking it up or collecting it from the streets where you're taking the major trucks and doing the whole process. That's different.
Right.
But I'm talking about what a lawnmower company is doing for us. They've already replaced that for cleaning their own buildings out, or not just from the street. Overall process for the street collection is a bigger process. And that their equipment is heavy equipment. So if we actually hold on to that as a next phase, or we go through, whenever we are replacing the equipment, we replace it with electrical equipment. So somehow go in that direction township wide, but we can actually go ahead and start discussing about the residential and then go in that direction. Again, something to think and something to discuss. I'll be for it. The next one I saw was a gun sale, and a lot of comments were made on bringing it to the attention and making people aware of keeping the gun unarmed. I think it's a great move. What else can we do on the gun sale? Can we even stop it? Federally, it's allowed. So I don't think as a town we can do anything about it. So whatever we can do in that direction, I think it's being proactive and getting ahead of the game, and I'll be for it as well. So
Can I just jump on that? What Georgina said, when I had little kids in baby car seats, there was baby car seats education week, or you'd go to the police station. So I think to Regina's point, that's a brilliant idea. Why can't we have a gun safety
week?
Yeah, and when the cops have gun safety boxes or whatever you're supposed to put your ammunition in, I just think I never thought of that. We did it for baby car seats. Let's do it for guns. I love that idea.
or just make it for those people who are taking those licenses to attend, or do a mandatory training for them.
Yeah, I think we can work through some ideas. We can't, I don't think you can mandate that people do this unless it's a requirement of actually obtaining the permit. However, being able to offer some information, especially at the transaction of permit to gun purchaser, or, being able to have a week like you said, or, coupling with a group like RTSP, which is nearby, that also does gun safety and training and stuff like that, something like that.
Whatever legally we cannot do, we cannot do. But whatever legally we can do, even if that becomes a requirement for the license, if township can do it, if federally we are allowed to do it, I'm all for it.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because it will, obviously that will come at an expense for the municipality to do things like that. So.
Yeah, public safety and.
Wait, Alex, I'm sorry, when do we have that big thing in the park when all the cops?
August.
So August, so maybe we could get something added to that big event.
Certainly,
Gun
I think, it makes sense to have, information available there and even, to an extent. some
Yeah,
sort
I
of
hope you
demonstration.
understand where I'm coming from. I'm all for the public safety in this
Yeah.
matter. So if there is anything as a township can do, you have my vote at least.
Mr. Wasserman?
And I'm still.
I'm
couple
sorry.
more points, sorry, Mayor. Yeah.
Sorry.
So next one is budget. I heard a lot of good reviews about budget. Is the budget not posted online yet? Is it preliminary? Is it online?
Everything
already?
is online.
Okay. Mr. Moman, could you go online just quickly on the Millburn Township and show it where it is? Sorry, Mayor, I'm actually going to go through that painful process myself, so everyone else sees it too. So it's there.
You can also search on the search bar as well for anything on the website.
Nobody's over on that side tonight.
So it's under Finance Department, and the first clipping you see is 2022 budget introduction, right? So that's there. There are two links that I'm seeing there.
Correct.
And now, Mr. Moman, while you're there, could you go back to affordable housing, please? This was my last
You
to
bet.
our community. Under our community, there's affordable housing information. First link in there, final settlement agreement. Can you click on that, please? I've heard comments here, and I've heard, oh, there's a lot more going on. First of all, there's not a lot more going on. I can't speak to two people at a time. I've said this several times. This is a public meeting. If I have to talk to other two or more members, this is my meeting. This is where I have to talk. There is no internal separate meeting else going on. At least I take offense to that. So when I went up online and I saw fair share housing, there was a question RDP, which moved from 17 to 114. 17 was, again, to my understanding, to my knowledge, what I understand it, it is the vacant land analysis when fair share housing first came to us. We went back to show to them, these are the vacant land, and there are 17 vacant land that we can make anything on. And that is where we propose it to them. Then I know Mr. Wasserman and Ms. Megan went on that negotiation meetings. Can you please scroll down a couple of pages? There are some numbers in the chart. This one right there. I see there a total credit, not total unit, but total credit to 114. I assume this is the number that has been floating around or been asked about. Now I took a printout of that page. Canoebrook, which is Upton, says 30 affordable housing unit, total credit 59. What is that 30 to 59? You can explain, Mr. McDonald, there's bonus credit says 29. Then there is a Silverman, which is Woodland, 12, which is 12 on the total credit. Then there's Wells Fargo, 8. Annie says 30, and then special need, which credit is nothing, and that is totaling to 114. We all know that Upton building came in from Upton guys. We know Silverman, Woodland, I was on the planning board, and I kind of went through tens of those meetings myself, and you know where it all came from. Wells Fargo, I was on the planning board, and I went through everything. Mr. Fell, do you have anything to say?
Yes, there's
No,
an
no.
exhibit you're not referring to that's not in.
Sanjeev, just keep going. Excuse me, Mr. Fell. Mr. Fell, please.
Again, to my understanding, where I don't even then understand the question that I've been asked, 17 to 114. That's the only number I could come up with. And going back to, I don't talk to all these people other than outside of this meeting. Or if there is an indoor meeting that is specially for any topic. So reminder to you again, can you go down further, a couple more pages, please? Again, this is what I saw online myself, and I'm referring it to, and I'm showing it to you here, so you can go and also look, whoever is interested in. Go down further more, please. Because it is not 114. The unit total is right here, which says Canoebrook, which is Upton, is 30 units, affordable units. Silverman Group is 12. Wells Fargo is 11. Annie Says is 30. Woodmont is 39. Affordable housing is 75. I also do not like 100% affordable housing. When it first came through, I couldn't sleep at night. And I remember talking to Mr. Wasserman, oh, what are you trying to do? A taboo in a town? What will these kids do in the middle school or high school? Oh, you're from that project. No, but all these buildings, it doesn't come that way. The builders bring it in, affordable housing bring it in, and total is 197 units. So those are the numbers right there on the website. And you can please look at this at your leisure. There are other which says very low income required, 13% of total. Everything is, final agreement is right there. Now, I don't like the majority of this program, but I like to bring in people who are low income housing to give them their fair share of our community. But I don't like the fact when builder brings it in and makes us sit over 20 or 25 meetings on the planning board where all the people, community members are coming and asking for it, and I'm with them. But there is nothing that we could do to stop them because they're not doing anything wrong. They come in and say, we are ready to make the building. You have not done anything for the affordable housing so far. So we're going to push you, punish you, and do this to you. So this is where our agreement is, and this is where I wanted to show on the RDP number. And that is the information I have. You have the same information too. Anything more than that, you can ask the township clerk or Mr. McDonald to clarify.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit.
Thank you.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes, so just to piggyback a couple of the comments, I think that some of the misconception is that the township has, has ownership, that we have the final say on this, which we never did. Let me finish my comments, Mr. Feld, and I'll tell you what I'm trying to say. We fair share housing and the court mandated that we have affordable housing. And it wasn't until the last 2 weeks of negotiation that we actually had the final numbers. But in terms of if people don't, and I don't feel much differently about 100% affordable. I also think that there was another way of doing this. But when fair share says, Millburn, you haven't done the right thing, that this is the program. We had we actually, we didn't have a choice. This is what was mandated by the court. And of course, you could say that, okay, Millburn, we could fight it. We could lose our immunity, but that would have, in my estimation, that would have cost the town millions of dollars. It would have cost millions of dollars, and it could have meant other things. So I know how people feel about it, but I would say that we really had very limited choices. And it wasn't until the last 2 weeks of the negotiation that we actually had these numbers. So I just wanted to say that. And in terms of the SID, I know that Ms. Urso called before. I actually missed I was traveling. I actually missed the last SID meeting, but I'm at every SID meeting except for the last one. And everyone and the whole, bless you. Allergies. And the public is always invited. There is always public questions. And we have many people that ask a lot of questions, and to my knowledge, those questions are answered. People come to the meetings, and I will tell you something else, that my colleague Jackie Benjamin Lieberberg is doing an amazing job as being a part of the board. The SID is doing an amazing job. That our vacancy rate is almost down to 5%. There's very few vacant stores. And they're taking a central role in terms of Founding Day. We're going to have an amazing community event, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing at the SID. And I'm always open to speaking to anybody about it. So so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Anything else, Mr. Wasserman?
No.
Mr. McDonald, do you have a response to anything?
I do, Mayor.
Thank you.
I just wanted to further clarify a little bit of what Mr. Benayak had stated about the vacant land adjustment and the housing element and fair share plan that was posted after being approved in 2018. That vacant land adjustment was the township's calculation based on whatever rules the planner goes through to figure out what land is available for the potential development, which gives you that realistic development potential, which that number was 17 back in 2018. However, that's the start of a process during the negotiation of a settlement with fair share housing, in which they then also take their own look at the township and they say this or that could also be developed, or we understand that a developer is speaking to you about the Wells Fargo site, or we understand that a developer is speaking to you about Annie Says. Those numbers should be included in your realistic development potential. Therefore, those numbers are going to be a part of your final number. Now, there are probably very few settlements with fair share housing that go from an initial vacant land adjustment and RDP number and stay the exact same to the end of that process. Much like any negotiation, there is a there is generally a midpoint. So certainly that number could have been much higher based on, if they had said, hey, you never included affordable housing component to the enclave or whatever it might have been. However, that number and that RDP that is currently in the settlement agreement is as a result of those discussions, whether they wanted to add a portion of Benai Jeshurun or whatever it might have been. Those could have all been part of your realistic development potential. So there needs to be an understanding there that this is that's the process, right? You start with the housing element fair share plan, the township does a vacant land adjustment, and then you come up with a realistic development potential of 17. Then you go through the negotiation with fair share housing, and that number will ultimately change. So I just wanted to be clear on that as well. And certainly Mr. Vinayak had explained a lot of that already.
No matter what you explain, there will always be further and further and further. So I guess you have to just keep giving the facts that you have. And that's the best you can do.
That answer will not change. So
that is the answer. And that is on the website as well. So I don't know what other meetings we are having on fair share.
So the other thing I wanted to address was Ms. Urso had mentioned about lot 14.
Yeah.
We had done, she had sent me some information, and it was quite disturbing actually in the videos that she showed me of people cutting through that lot because the bridge is out and because they can use that as a cut through to beat the light at Millburn and Short Hills Avenue. I don't even want to tell people that is a serious offense. From a criminal perspective, from a traffic perspective, that's 2 points on your license. That is not something that's taken lightly. Also, the speed at which some of these individuals were going through lot 14 was quite disturbing. So I appreciate Ms. Ursa for bringing that to our attention. We immediately went out and put barricades so that it wasn't a straight throughput from the Keller Williams building to Short Hills Avenue. We also reinstalled the temporary speed bumps that we have there and have to remove in the winter for snow plowing. But just so that everybody is aware, and I know the township committee is aware of this, but we are looking from the parking capital perspective, looking at making improvements to that lot. And so there will be some positive changes coming there. And just a comment about Oprah that was brought up because I feel the need to state this for my staff, that I want to be clear that there is nothing in that we are against Oprah, that we're against responding to it. However, those who request Oprah need to understand that certainly it can't be questions. It can't be, it can't be vague. You have to request a specific record. Also, I want it to be understood that these aren't somebody coming into us and saying, hey, can I have one document? This is what I'm interested in. These are lists of documents that people want. These things do take time. We have 2 people in that office that respond to Oprah. And that goes for, and understand too, that, you may not be the only one requesting documents, that there are plenty of people, news organizations, lawyers, everybody that requests documents from the township. So our clerk staff, on top of what they are also responsible for the municipality, besides Oprah, I think do a fantastic job and do the best they can to make sure that we do respond to those record requests.
Mr. McDonald, I just do have a quick question for you in terms of Oprah requests. We're in 2022. Do you have, do we keep records of the amount of Oprah requests by year? Do we know how many we have, say, in 18, 19, 20, and 21?
Yes, and we do keep track of that. And I'm not going to speak off the hip, but I can tell you that they've increased significantly. And we receive anywhere between, we generally receive about 500 Oprah requests a year.
Generally,
it could be less, it can be some more, but it's generally in that ballpark, and it's risen. So it was, but we're right around the 500 mark now.
500 Oprah requests a year.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say an Oprah request, is it one person asking for one thing, or within that Oprah request, could there be 50 things asked for?
Absolutely, there could be as many as that person desires. It could be, 20 records. It could be, 2 records. And also just make clear that number doesn't even necessarily consider the Oprah requests that are made directly to the police department.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. And they've been increasing. Okay, thank you. Mr. Carney, do you have anything?
I do. I would actually like to address the comment regarding Belleville, because that was also an article that caught my eye.
Oh,
And I
okay,
just
great.
wanted to point out that there's a distinction between Belleville and the Township of Millburn in terms of its form of government. Belleville is a council, a manager form of government. And the powers that allow appointment to planning boards there is significantly different than the state statute provides for a township committee. And in particular, for a council manager form of government, which is not our form of government, it's NJSA 40:69A-89 states that the council, not the mayor, but the council may provide for the manner of appointment of a municipal attorney, any planning board, zoning board of adjustment, or personnel board in the municipality, and may create commissions and other bodies with advisory powers. That's to be contrasted to the township committee form of government, which is Millburn's form of government.
Okay.
And specifically there, the power of the mayor is governed by NJSA 40A-63-5. I'm not going to read that whole paragraph, but it does say that the mayor shall have those powers placed in the mayor by general law. The Municipal Land Use Law is the law that governs the 4 different class of members to be appointed to the planning board. And class 4, and this is under the state statute NJSA 40:55D-23, states as to class 4, which is the other citizens of the municipality group. Those are to be appointed by the mayor, or in the case of the council manager form of government pursuant to the optional municipal charter law or the municipal manager form of government law, by council. That's the distinction there, if so provided by the aforesaid ordinance. So the statute that's governing this is the form of government that we have, the township committee and the municipal land use law.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Thank you so much. Okay. The Township Committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Resolutions 22-109 through 22-112. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve resolution 22-109 through resolution 22-112, which are listed on the consent agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Eglo,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, resolution 22-113, appoint the Affordable Housing Administrative Agent. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 22-113?
No comment there.
No comments. May I have a motion to approve resolution 22-113?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Eglo,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 22-114, authorize place-to-place transfer of a plenary retail distribution liquor license, 4-Star Group Incorporated, DBA The Wine Shop. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 22-114? No comments. May I have a resolution to approve? May I have a motion to approve resolution 22-114?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Eglo,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wasserman, you're scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2600-22.
Thank you so much. I'd like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2600-22, ordinance supplementing the revised general ordinances of the Township of Millburn with chapter, I don't know.
22.
22, I'm sorry, development fee. The purposes of this ordinance is establish standards for the collection, maintenance, and expenditure of development fees that are consistent with state law. Alex, would you like to enlighten us?
Again, yes, this is the ordinance that was discussed at the previous township committee meeting, which would apply to new developments that increase the assessed value of a property by 50% or more. For single-family residential, it will be 1.5% of those improvements, and for commercial, it will be 2.5% of those improvements. These funds then go into an affordable housing trust, in which needs to be utilized in a certain way that is also spelled out in the ordinance. For example, 30% of that money needs to be put toward a rehab program or whatnot. You've just approved sort of the administrative agent, which will help with the administration of this development fee as well. But this will apply to anything that does not contain an affordable housing component. Because affordable housing buildings cannot be cost generative, therefore the fee cannot be applied to them.
And this fund would help the township in the future with our affordable housing responsibility.
Correct.
And many other towns have this.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this time to ask a question about this?
You can.
Okay.
Or if the
Well,
mayor-
it's fine. Okay, so, so if after the addition, if the house is now worth 50% more, how is that decided? Like, when is the fee paid? It's like, it can't be when they put the permit in and start the building. Is it after it's been built, after the addition's been on? Just like, how does it work?
Yeah, so this is done by an assessment by the tax assessor.
Okay.
They have to do so within 10 days to give the final number of what that the value of that addition will be, and then of course what the fee would be associated with that. So that's after completion.
So when the permit's gonna be closed out?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And is this on permits that are currently outstanding now as open, or is this any new permits that are being,
Anything new.
anything new?
Correct.
Okay, so everybody who's out there, their grandfather does it.
Correct.
Okay. Or anything new up until the time this passes.
Correct.
So get your permits in if you're
Yep.
thinking about doing work.
You better get it on that.
In a minute. All right.
I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with the law in the item and for the hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022.
May I ask for a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Eglo,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm scheduled to sponsor a procedure for introducing an ordinance. Let's see, ordinance 2601-22. Ordinance amending and supplementing the Township of Millburn Development Regulations and Zoning Ordinance. Mr. McDonald, would you like to give a little explanatory statement on that?
Yes. Again, this was as discussed at the previous township committee meeting, in which the zoning board of adjustment in their annual report had identified that corner lots have a difficulty when it comes to accessory uses. We do also have Graham Pedo from Topology on the line, so certainly rather than me attempting to be a planner, if there's some additional explanation he can provide. But again, this is changing the corner lots and accessory uses in those and the determination of what front yard and things like that are. But if Graham is, did you bring him on? All right, Graham can give you a better explanation.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hello. Good evening, Graham Pedo with Topology Planner for the Township. So just to summarize my comments from the previous meeting, as I noted in my discussion at the last meeting, the Zoning Board of Adjustment in their annual reports of 2017, 18, and 19 identified the issue of locating accessory uses and structures on corner lots, which were the subject of frequent variance applications at the Zoning Board of Adjustment. They've recommended reviewing the provision, which currently requires any accessory use or structure to be located 80 feet from the side front yard on a corner property. And with such a distance, many corner lots do not have 80 feet in width, and this would require the accessory structure to be located on an adjacent property. So consistent with that recommendation, the ordinance before you this evening modifies that provision to restrict any location of an accessory use or structure in a front yard or forward of the front building wall on a corner property. So no accessory structure can be located closer than 40 feet or the front building wall of the accessory structure on a corner property, whichever distance is greater. So effectuating this ordinance will advance the recommendation of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to modify the provision. Happy to take any questions should anybody have.
So like decks, patios, fences, is that what we're talking about?
Correct. Yeah, those elements, well, not fences, because fences are permitted in front yards at a lower height. But this would be, garages, sheds, play sets, decks, all those kinds of things. Can't be located any more forward than the existing front wall of the house towards the street. Or 40 feet, whichever distance is greater on the corner property.
Any questions from anyone? No?
I have a question and I have asked and I'm going to ask it again. I have a corner lot, so should I recuse myself or am I okay to vote?
So I think the law governing the potential conflicts of interest are governed by the New Jersey Supreme Court case. It's Wiskowski or Wiskowski. It's a 1993 Supreme Court decision. My memory serves me correct. I could be wrong on that, but basically the question to be asked there is whether or not the public official has an interest that is not shared in general with that of the general public, such that it would cause a shift or a tug of your vote as compared to that general public. Given the fact that corner lots are shared in common with many members of the public, I would find that you do not have a potential for a conflict of interest.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Okay. Okay. Well, I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law on the item, and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Deputy Mayor Eglo,
Yes.
Mr. Vanayak,
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, old business. Core Hartshorn Arboretum and Bird Sanctuary lease renewal. So, Mr. McDonald, let's talk about that a little bit, and then some other questions. Mr. Cosgrove brought up that there's locked gates, etc.
I mean, we are certainly the discussion here is about the lease renewal of the township. Back in 2002, had entered into a lease with the Core Hartshorn Arboretum Bird Sanctuary. As you know, the township owns the property. However, the Arboretum and a separate board runs the programming from the Stone House, which was bequeathed by Core Hartshorn. And so this lease is up for renewal on June 30th. And just wanted to provide this opportunity and information to the Township Committee to have some further discussion. To your point, there may be other questions, there may be things that we need to go back to the Arboretum to just gather some additional information. However, also any of the terms of the lease that need to be further clarified, but wanted to bring it to your attention further so that we can get this on for potential renewal, as it does need to be done by an ordinance.
Okay. Does any member of the committee have anything they'd like to share about this?
Yes, I actually have some comments on this. Mr. McDonald, also, can you tell us what the town gives money to the Arboretum?
Yeah, so what occurs under this lease is that the Arboretum is leased the property for $1, and the township contributes $50,000 per annum to the Arboretum in sort of replacement of consistent maintenance of the property. We had at one time had an employee that maintained the property at the Arboretum. They were a member of the Public Works Department. That position was eliminated and the contribution ensued.
So the town does contribute to the Arboretum $50,000 a year.
That's correct.
As our part. And just as a comment, I will say that I served on the Arboretum board as a TC member, and it really, the Arboretum is a gemstone of the township. It's an amazing place. It's a great place to hike, and there's a camp, and they do their mission is incredible. They have a very dedicated board. Now, with that being said, I do have questions that I personally like to bring up that I hope can be resolved also. So as a TC member, when you serve on the Arboretum board, you're asked to fill out a very lengthy non-disclosure agreement. And this is something that is not part of any agreement. It's basically, every year a different TC member, is asked to sit on the board. And I've always felt, out of that we are overseeing public funds, and we should not be bound or asked to sign any non-disclosure. We're actually there to make sure that the funds are spent appropriately, that the program is run, properly, and we should not be asked to sign any non-disclosure agreement. It's not, to me, it's not in the public. It's not in the public interest. So I just wanted to, and I think that's something that we could have resolved.
How long is the lease for again?
It is. This was a lease from 2002 to 2012. So initially a 10-year lease with 2 5-year successive renewals.
So now this next lease will be 5 years?
10.
Now we go back to 10.
No, it is 10 and then 5 and 5 extension
Yeah.
again, if it's similar, so it's 20 years lease.
It is a 20-year
So
lease.
Once 10
potentially.
years gets done, they have a right to just extend to 5 years. They have a right to extend further 5 years. So it's 20-year lease technically. But I think it's a gem as well. But I saw that there's a bird sanctuary also in Summit. I'd like to see their lease as well, what they do, how they do it. Just to kind of compare the two.
Reeves Reed Arboretum?
Yep.
Okay.
Just to compare the two.
And that $50,000 has not gone up for the past 20 years?
No, it has.
It has?
Yes, it was, I believe it was in 2000, no, it was prior to 17. So I think it was 2012 at the 10-year renewal. It was originally, I think it was $35,000 at that time, and it was up to $50,000.
So now that it's 50, if we renew this, is that 50 goes to 10 years, or they can come and ask for more money?
They can always ask you to amend the lease. However, that's a much more difficult process. More so than what they would do is look for you to make that amendment at the 10-year mark. And to note that, there has not been a request for any additional funds.
I think one of the more important questions for me anyway, personally, is the fact that this Arboretum belongs to the town and yet they're locking gates and not allowing the township people in it. And I think that's an issue. If you're not allowing, I can appreciate that you don't want deer in there. I get that. However, it would be nice to be able to walk in the Arboretum.
Yeah, and I think, maybe that's more of just a discussion and an explanation as to what that is. I don't know if that's something I'm sure that's something that can be resolved without having to tie that somehow into the lease renewal.
It's like the reservation. There's no gates and locks in the reservation, are there? When we want to walk inside the reservation.
Yeah, I think there's, I think there's just a little bit of a difference here, but certainly it's a question that can be asked of.
So my question is, how do we proceed, Mr. McDonald? Who is going to address our concerns?
I will work on addressing your concerns and looking into the questions that were raised.
Yep.
And bringing it back to the township committee.
Thank you. Does any committee member have any item of old business to address?
No, I was going to bring up the gas leaf blowers, but that was brought up.
So we're good with
we're
that?
Good with that.
Okay. New business. Sorry.
Old business as well.
Oh, okay.
Hobart Gap Road traffic light. Is there any update on that? I know it's a county thing. There are 2 updates that I would want to hear. And lately we have seen a lot of accidents happening on White Oak Ridge Road between Rippling Brook and Clive Hills, that turn.
Yeah.
And that is also a county road. And just past 1 month, there were 2 accidents, really bad accidents. It just goes in, there were no signs. So people who live there, they understand, but people who drive by as newcomer, they hit the pole on the other side. So I know that you have sent the report out to the county. Is there any update on that?
So we had previously sent out the report after the initial accident. And then following the second accident, that was only, I think, like a week or two later, we sent an additional note to the county. They indicated that they were working on the solutions. We had met with the county also and talked to them about what those solutions might be, better signage, maybe even a guide rail, things like that, pavement markings. However, there has been no progress at this point.
Do you know how many accidents have happened in past 1 year on this road? This place 1 year?
Not off the top of my head, Mr. Vinayak, I think but it is not an insignificant number when it comes to our roadways. I think that you were averaging anywhere between 4 and 8 accidents a year, at that particular
point. Right?
Yeah,
yes.
not even just on that road, just at that particular point. It is a problem area that is recognized by the county. I think it just is going to take some time for them to put up their solution.
So you know what's weird about that road? When you're coming down
Great
Great
Hills. Yeah.
you're not really sure who's supposed to stop, who has the yield. It's a very strange intersection coming off White Oak Ridge there. In fact, I will go back, when I was in high school, somebody I know did get killed there. That's a very long time ago, but it is an awkward intersection.
Yeah.
Maybe lately it's been better, because could be some confusion that could be created, but the one that we're talking about,
Is the curve
just
around.
me being there, I have seen multiple
Speeding.
accidents and people get rerouted from Rippling Brook, so it's unbelievable. If you think that is confusing, the Great Hills and White Oak,
Yeah.
and it's even worse.
But
They're speeding, they need to
Just-
get where they're going.
It's not even speeding, even if
No.
you're coming at 35
Oh,
and
really?
it goes down to 25,
Mm.
still, it's such a steep turn.
Right.
If you have not seen, or if it's dark, you will just hit that pole right.
Could they put a sign up like a?
Yep,
a
like an
Z,
arrow sign,
like a
yeah.
they have traffic, the MUTCD standards will determine what they put up there. So they'll make sure but the problem is now there's just not enough of it and it's not visible. So and what is there is not visible. Just so you know, Deputy Mayor Eglo, that intersection also came up in the conversation with the county. So that will be something that is further looked at from their standpoint as well.
So next question, that road, if you're coming up to the right, is like waterland, I know it's like.
Wetlands. Yeah.
Wetlands.
It's
So-
East Orange Water Company property.
Right, so if you wanted to like, let's say, straighten out the road or anything, you probably couldn't even do that if it's watershed.
Yeah, it would be very difficult too, and you'd be taking away right away probably of someone's property and
So
so.
do it on the other side, the water.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No,
no,
they
yeah,
won't touch that.
yeah.
Okay,
And Hobart Gap Road?
Yes, so that's in progress. All the information has been given to the county. We were waiting on one easement. However, we were able to discern what has occurred with that, and I don't think we needed any further. So we should be good to go. They'll be bidding it. So, and that is the good thing about that project is that we took the extra step to make sure that there's a dedicated left-hand turn.
Perfect.
On White Oak Ridge Road.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wasserman,
you.
any old business?
No.
No. Okay. New business. Township Committee Rules of Procedure. We were all sent a draft, and Mr. Carney is available for clarification. Anybody have any questions about the committee rule of procedures?
maybe you could just explain the pass. I know I have used the pass.
Right, so what's being,
You're on.
I'm on, okay. What's being proposed here is in Article 2. This is Section 1, Paragraph B. What's being proposed is no member shall be entitled to vote pass in order to be called upon later during a roll call. And then it goes on to explain regarding abstentions. An abstention for all purposes shall not be counted either as a vote in favor or against a particular matter in which the abstention is given.
So that means you're not allowed to use pass because you're not ready to vote. There's no using pass.
Under this proposed rule, it would mean that you would either have to vote in the affirmative, in the negative, or abstain.
So as far as Robert's rules, is pass a thing?
So these rules are not Robert's rules.
No.
Robert's rules are parliamentary rules, somewhat antiquated. And so this would be if the township committee agrees to this procedure, you're agreeing not to vote pass.
Well, I don't like that. I think pass should be available, so I'm gonna pass on this. Because I don't think we should be taking that option out for our members. You know, I'm just gonna say that.
It's completely up to the township committee. These are your rules.
Okay, well, I think the pass should stay.
But
I feel like
sometimes,
Seinfeld.
but sometimes you could use a pass to see how other people vote before you make a decision, right?
Exactly, Mr. Wasserman.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to do that.
You want to see how everybody else.
I have a question, however, so in the event of a pass, the member of the township committee passes, and then subsequent members pass, and it gets back to that initial township committee member, are they forced to vote, or are we just gonna keep?
Well, that would be a game, wouldn't it?
Well,
Politics is a game, and we should be able to pass.
Gentlemen, how do you feel about it?
I personally don't like the pass. I actually think that when you come to a meeting, you're representing your constituents, you should vote yes, no, or abstain.
Yeah, I don't like the pass either. Politics is not a game. You have to be here to be here, yeah.
Politics is absolutely a game.
Okay, so
I mean,
the consensus is,
As you
the
know.
consensus is no pass,
Keep the pass.
keep the pass, no
No
pass,
pass.
no
Vote.
pass, consensus, done. Okay, anybody else? Anything else?
Well, Mr. Carney, is there anything else in here that's hiding that you'd like to highlight?
Well, I don't know about the word hiding, but.
Well, not
I-
hiding in plain sight.
Are you asking me to go over
Well,
all the changes? or-
actually, what I'm asking you to do is to highlight, could you highlight things that you think are important to us?
Or
Sure.
whatever changes you're making,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, so, and again, this is all being proposed. So one of the changes is that a majority of the full authorized membership of the township committee shall be required to vote in the affirmative in order to pass any ordinance. That would mean 3 votes to pass any ordinance.
Right.
We already talked about the pass. We have here, when a matter comes up on the agenda, the member shall explain the nature, as to conflicts. And this is what kind of occurred this evening. When the matter comes up on the agenda, the member shall explain the nature of the conflict and shall leave the meeting room. Here, you didn't have a conflict. During the consideration of that matter, the members are encouraged to consult the township attorney of potential conflicts in advance of the meeting.
Okay.
In section 2, we have here, in circumstances where a meeting is also being attended by electronic means, the mayor shall first recognize those physically present at the meeting and then proceed to those seeking recognition by electronic means, both visual and then telephonic. That's the procedure we've been following anyway.
Yes.
We have here a speaker who completes their remarks prior to expiration of their allotted time cannot yield the remainder of their time to another individual. We talk about here that, and actually I may want to make a revision to this. It says that in order for a meeting of the township committee to be convened, a quorum of the members consisting of at least 3 members must be present. I want to go on and clarify that being present means physical, electronically, or telephonically. After the passage of 15, in the event that we don't have a quorum, after the passage of 15 minutes, the clerk shall announce in the absence of a quorum that the meeting will be held at a later date with new notice of the date and time to be placed on the township's website and published in 2 officially designated newspapers or as otherwise required by law.
I think I'd like that extended a little bit, just based on what happened that last time. It was at 18 minutes. Right?
You want to go 20 minutes?
Yeah.
For what? I'm sorry, I was reading. What do you
It-
want?
We're waiting for people. to
In the
come.
event that we don't have a quorum,
I
how
don't
long do
think
we
it should be
wait?
15 minutes. I think it should probably be more like 20 minutes.
But if someone is late, they can always say that they're running late. If we don't hear from them, that we should assume in 15 minutes they're not coming.
Yes, but the last time when that occurred, and I had to then get on the call. I had told everyone I wouldn't be there. The person running the meeting didn't come.
I
So
was
then
sick.
I came,
Unexpectedly, I was sick. First meeting I've missed, just want to say, first meeting I've missed in 6 years.
right, I came, so what I'm saying is, then if you're trying to get on electronically, for me personally, that evening, it took, I I think I got on at the 18th minute or
Which
something like
is,
that.
I think if we know that someone is coming or
But
they
that's not how that
communicated,
reads, right?
maybe that is what we should add it in there. Otherwise, waiting for more than 15 minutes is a waste of time, everybody's time.
Did they get in touch with you within 15 minutes? They should have waited to the 15-minute mark to get in touch with you. I wasn't here, I was
Okay,
at a commission.
well, let's,
No, I think, yeah, you can't wait to the 15-minute and then.
I forget.
well,
do
I think
believe-
whoever is not coming, they should be responsible enough to say that they're not going to come.
Correct.
We reached out to her because we knew she was not coming. So I guess we are turning it to a different direction. The thing is, 15 minutes, if no one shows up, we know we haven't heard from them, they should be.
Right,
adjourned.
I can clarify that in the absence of having, I guess, a call to the business administrator or to anybody, that somebody is not going to be here until a certain time.
Sure. Okay, fair enough.
You know, it wouldn't apply in that circumstance.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Also, the public comment period is being placed after reports.
Yes.
We have here that a tentative agenda for regular meetings shall include any item listed by the mayor, the business administrator, or by request of any member of the township committee at any time. The change in the time, yeah, I think it was 4 p.m. Now it's 3 p.m. on the Monday of the week prior to the subject meeting. We do have here that any member of the township committee who desires to amend the agenda after its advertisement on the township's website and prior to its approval at the meeting may move to amend the same and shall explain the substance of the amendment, including why it should be included on the current agenda rather than an agenda on the next meeting, and outlining the urgency underlying the need to consider the amendment for approval at that meeting. Let's see, I'm not going over the entire,
No.
I'm just trying to pick things that are highlighted here, so I don't want anybody to
Sure.
think this is a comprehensive.
So what becomes, I know you have mentioned that we should be asking prior to the meeting. I wasn't even sure that whether it's a conflict or not a conflict. When everybody was talking corner lot, it just struck me in my head again. That, hey, I have a corner lot. So now in the meeting I'm sitting, should I vote, should I not vote? I think we should be able to ask here as well then.
Sure, you can ask me here, but sometimes potential conflicts of interest questions are much more complicated than that.
Yeah, so in that case, I would say.
So advance warning, you know, gives me some time to.
I would love to.
More than
I would have loved
3
to.
seconds to respond. Let's see, we have consent agenda. We have here that it is in the absolute discretion of the township committee. It may invite public comment on resolutions not legally required. So let me just start at the beginning. All ordinances and resolutions which require hearings or taking a public comment as a matter of law shall be considered in the ordinary course as separate agenda items for consideration and potential enactment. We do have here in the absolute discretion of the township committee, it may invite public comment on resolutions not legally requiring the same upon the motion of any township committee, upon the motion of any township committee member and approval by a vote of majority of the members present. And then we just go into all the common motions and how that is practiced. A motion to withdraw, a motion to table to a certain date, a motion to table indefinitely, a motion to amend, a motion to appeal, a motion to limit, extend, or close debate, and then also motion to adjourn, motion to take a brief recess, and motion for clarification. We just spell all those out. The rest of that ordinance pretty much remains the same.
Is this going to be on the website as well?
That's completely
You
up.
should put that on the website.
Yeah, up
Just
to
so
you.
everyone
It's not
knows.
in final form.
Yeah,
Well,
when
draft.
it is in final form.
So let me, if I could speak to public comment. I was very comfortable having more than one public comment back in the day when I was mayor. I think we could have a second public comment on the agenda for new things that come up, not for people to rehash what they've spoken to. I don't, it is a public meeting. It's the only time we get to speak to anybody. So if something new came up during this meeting and the public would like to ask, I don't see why we're shutting them down. I feel that taking away the pass is a shutdown. And I think we are here to serve them if they voted for us or not, like us or not. And if something new came up, they should absolutely have the ability to have a second public comment period. That's my comment.
That's fine. These are not my rules, these are your rules.
Well,
So,
I'm just adding that I would
Right,
like to
okay.
see that if people want to discuss it. I don't think they're all gonna go for it because clearly I can't read their minds, but I don't know why we can't have a second public comment period for new items that have come up during the course of a meeting. And what are we afraid of? You're gonna say something?
Misused of time, misuse of the same thing repeated again.
No, I said
And
not the
so-
same thing.
Well, but the thing is, you cannot stop anyone on that, so I'm of difference of opinion, I guess.
Okay, not surprised.
Sanjeev's different. Richard?
Yeah, the way I feel about it, I'm very happy that we moved public comment to before action is taken. And for ordinances, I know that there is a separate discussion. So
I think it covers it enough,
I'm
yeah.
just very happy we've moved the public comment to the beginning of the meeting so people can express themselves fully before action is taken. So I'm satisfied with the way
Well,
it is.
let's suppose, Mr. Wasserman, that somebody here on Zoom would like to talk about these change of rules. They'd like to comment on having a second public comment.
Are
You
we-
now are not giving
But
them a
when this
chance
is
to comment.
introduced,
Yeah.
when this is introduced, won't there be an opportunity for everybody to express themselves?
Why don't you want to
Yes,
hear
yes.
from them now? What would be wrong
Okay,
with
so
that?
Mr. Benayak, you have said to leave it. Mr. Wasserman, you have said to leave it.
I know
Committee
you want to
woman,
leave
you
it.
say,
I
you
say,
say-
put it in.
put it in, and I say we leave it. Next. Thank you. Consensus. Okay, that's it. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Carney. Finish there. Proposed overlay zone ordinance. So I'm going to refer to Graham Petto for the overview and for the committee if they have anything that they'd like to see reviewed with the overlay zones.
Yes, all of these three ordinances all have an outright ban on rooftop decks and amenities. I am not in favor of any of that. A downright ban, I've made this very clear publicly. It's not the way to go. It's on all three of these ordinances, respective ordinances. Rooftop decks are banned, amenities banned. Why are we banning them? I know we're not Hoboken, I know we're not Jersey City, but these are amenities that provide a service that we should be given to our commercial use, our residents. My house has a third floor deck. It's not a rooftop amenity, but it might as well be because I can see all of my neighbors. I'm not looking into anyone's window, but I certainly could. Having a rooftop deck is a lovely thing that you can use. And I think it is absolutely wrong for apartments that an apartment dweller is not entitled to the same outside space that a home has. And I can't vote for any of this when it comes about because it's got rooftop deck and amenity ban.
Mr. Benayak?
I don't know why it's new business, because I thought it was discussed in the past and we asked the planning board to come back with a recommendation. I think they wanted to go with zoning.
No, this has got to do with, this is just with the overlay zone. So,
No, but
Yep.
rooftop deck was
Mr.
discussed.
Mr.
Yeah.
Petto, can you speak
Yeah,
to this,
if you,
please?
yeah,
Thank you.
sure. So good evening, everyone. Once
Good
again, Graham
evening.
Petto, planner for the township. Just by way of background, for the benefit of both the township community members and the public in attendance this evening, the overlay ordinances before you this evening they are modifications pursuant to the township settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center. It is settlement term number 9, which is listed on page 5 of the settlement agreement for those members of the public that would be interested in reading. And the settlement requires the township to make ordinance amendments to 6 zone districts within the township: the Canoeburg Country Club, the B2 zone, 2 sections of the B2 zone, the B4 zone, the CMO zone, and the OR1 zone. The ordinances before you in very preliminary draft form start to incorporate the terms of the settlement agreement regarding proposed residential density to allowances within those zone districts. We have also included a couple of just very preliminary bulk standards or buffer requirements We do anticipate hosting a public process. We are open to being part of a roundtable process with members of the public in adjacent areas to these districts in particular, so we can hear some feedback and kind of review those with them as the process proceeds. We have, of course, as you alluded to, included some, model language based on prior development applications that have been made to the township or affordable housing requirements have been set forth. We're certainly open to incorporating other changes or modifications following the full public process that we anticipate as part of the ordinance review. Just to advise further, we have provided these drafts just with respect to the incorporation of the affordable housing requirement language to the township's affordable housing planner, just for initial review to ensure consistency with the settlement agreement terms. And they found to be correct in that provision. So, we look forward to a collaborative process in developing these ordinances to ensure compliance with the terms of the settlement agreement and also to respect the existing zone district requirements within the township, consistency with the township's master plan, and ensure to effectuate the terms of the settlement agreement as well. So happy to answer any further questions there may be regarding the drafts before you this evening.
I'd like to see public input.
You want the public input? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. There should be a public process and maybe our planner could do the
Alex,
presentation.
Yeah, do we have some meeting that we can set up and a group that we were going to let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So as we had talked about briefly at the last meeting, certainly wanted to make sure that the township committee saw this and were able to make comment or digest it first and foremost as your policy. But I think Graham and I are both prepared to hit the ground running and get a meeting set up to engage the public to be able to go through this document, in particular, the B2 and the B4 zone changes.
Also, it came from the planning board last year. We reached out to them, so I think we
it's
should
two
have
different
that.
things. Yeah.
Well,
This is two different. things,
yeah, I don't
think.
want to mix, I don't want to confuse the two things. So I think, again, whatever you end up doing with rooftop decks would certainly, have to flow through to wherever it's, mentioned
Got it.
elsewhere. So, but yeah, I think, in particular to get into the process with the community on those two, the B2 on Morris Turnpike, the B2 on Millburn Avenue, as well as the B4, those will have sort of the most direct impact. However, certainly, may want to see some residents may want to see the CMO. So we'll make something available to the public and try to make it an interactive process or as interactive as possible.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great. Does any committee member have any item of new business to address? None? Mr. Leglow? Mr. Wasserman? Oh, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, you know what?
Good night, Millburn.